Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we are joined by filmmaker and journalist. You might know him from seeing him on his show, Ami on the Streets, all of his amazing videos, Ami Horowitz. Ami, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We're really excited to talk to you. I think a lot of people have seen you in these videos, the films that you do. You do an incredible job really highlighting how ridiculous people are in so many different senses. If people haven't seen it, you got to go follow Ami on Facebook, on Instagram. Tell people who might not have seen it what it is that you do and kind of how you got started.
Yeah, so my backstory is a little bit different than I think most people who do what I do. So I was an investment banker most of my career. And one day, out of nowhere, I was watching a Michael Moore film. It was Bowling for Columbine. And for some bizarre reason, I started thinking about the United Nations, as we all do on a Saturday night.
Oh, of course.
Of course. And I was thinking, God, how terrible this place is, how awful it is. And I wanted to, shout from the rooftop, what I was feeling on this, this Saturday night. And I was thinking about, I could write a book, but I'm way too lazy for that. And nobody's going to read it. And I could write an article for the Journal or, Weekly Standard, people I've kind of, written for in the past as a hobby. But again, the same 20, 30,000 people who read it already agree with me. So that's kind of pointless. And then I looked over at the screen at this Michael Moore, documentary. I said, what a ingenious way of getting a point across. It's like darkly humorous, long form documentary. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to make a movie about the UN. And literally within 24 hours, I had quit my job. I started raising money for this movie. And thank God it was a huge success for a documentary. It was in 30 theaters around the country at the time when that was actually a thing. And it kind of jump started in my career, but what I knew I didn't want to do again. So I didn't want to spend 5 years and millions of dollars on one topic, right? Mm-hmm. Just not for me. And I needed it to have variety in my life. So social media was really kind of picking up at this point, and people were able to get their viewpoint across, their voice across on social media. I was like, okay, this is the right platform for me. And luckily, enough doors were open because of the movie, and I had a huge amount of distribution kind of baked in from the beginning, and it kind of just popped from there.
Wow. Well, I think for people that haven't seen, you really do have such a skill at exposing so much hypocrisy and showing just how outrageous and ridiculous some things have become. I mean, you've talked to people about voter ID laws, abolishing the police, supporting ISIS on Portland State University campus. And most recently, I saw this video you did where you posed as somebody who was raising money for Hamas. Now, just before we get into all of this, in case no one has heard, Hamas is a terrorist organization responsible for all of the rockets that were recently being shot into Israel. The way that you posed so many of the kind of questions and explanations you gave people, and then their reactions, Ami, I found insane. I want to play a quick clip of this for people that haven't seen it, and then I want us to talk a little more about it, because watch what Ami did here, and then what you're going to understand later is that Instagram and Facebook removed this video. Watch this.
I work for American Friends for Hamas.
Okay.
We're not your father's terrorist organization. We've kind of evolved beyond that. Still kind of what we do, but we've kind of rebuilt and rebranded ourselves. And Hamas is where it's at. We're raising money to do what we do as Hamas. We want to fund operations against Israel. And the type of attacks we're talking about are cafes and schools and soft targets. The suicide bomber is all we've got. I mean, that's kind of like, because it's the poor man's F-15.
Right.
And do we again against Israel, and that's kind of what we're looking to do.
I like the sound of what you're doing. It sounds like the great thing to do. Yeah, totally against the Israel.
Maybe consider making a donation.
Sure.
Great.
Probably like $15.
$15?
Yeah.
No, that'd be great.
I don't know, maybe like 10, 20 bucks.
15 to 20. $5 or $10.
Maybe like $10.
$5. $10.
$10.
$5 or $10.
$10. Let's say $27, since that seems to be my Bernie donation.
All right, so you asked people for money to donate to a terrorist organization. You actually, got people to say that they were willing to support Hamas monetarily. They give you the same amount of money as they gave to Bernie. People were not shocked when you talked about targeting schools, cafes, soft targets like that with terrorist activities. Tell me a little bit about this video, and then tell me what happened with it on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, I don't know. I have no words. I mean, I made the video, and I have no words. Okay, first of all, you have to understand that how I conceive of the idea in general usually amounts imbibing large amounts of alcohol, just so we're clear, right? So oftentimes I'll scribble these notes as I'm splayed out on my living room floor, and when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, this can't work, right? There's no way that I can go onto a university campus, pretend I'm from Hamas, and then raise money for terrorist attacks. Now, you may say, so people may say, well, wait, maybe they don't know what Hamas is. I don't know what their level of knowledge of the Middle East is, right? They're most college campuses, they're mostly idiots. So I laid out specifically, like you saw in the clip, specifically what the use of proceeds were for, right? To blow up hospitals and synagogues and kindergarten schools. And I laid out, I wanted to kill Jews. It couldn't have been clearer. And without missing a beat. Now, again, when I actually went to start filming, I said to my crew, I was like, this is probably not going to work. I mean, really, I have to have gone too far with this, right? But I have to tell you, out of all the times I've conceived of a project, I am never disappointed on the downside by the insanity of the left. Never, never. Okay, no matter how far I go. I went onto Yale's campus and had people sign a petition to repeal the First Amendment, okay?
Oh my gosh.
There's nothing you can't push them far enough to do that they won't accept if they think it somehow aligns with their insane leftist ideals. So yeah, I laid it out there and I raised my, and by the way, and people say, well, you edit out the people who like, no, first of all, even if I did edit out the people who told me to go screw myself, there was enough people there for it to be insane. But the truth is, Laura, not a single person said, what are you doing? This is insane.
Oh my gosh.
One.
That's even scarier knowing that, actually, because yeah, you could see how easy it would be to, get 20 people that were like, dude, you're raising money for Hamas. You understand who those people are. But the fact that nobody said that on me, are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you.
Wow.
And you're right. That might be even scarier than the people who ended up donating to me, which, by the way, wasn't a small percentage of people.
So, but then you did this video, and obviously you were trying to highlight the fact that, like we all saw a couple of weeks ago, you have so many of these people out there who, look, they have a big following. They're Instagram celebrities, they're Hollywood celebrities, even some folks in the mainstream media, even some people in our United States Congress that really seem to be aligned with the views of Hamas, and were kind of championing what was happening. I understand the point of the video, but I think it's important that people see exactly what you kind of just pointed out, which is there really is almost nothing too far for like the woke left in America, because they're willing to do or say anything as long as they think, well, yeah, this is what everybody is doing who is, aligned with these radical views now. But tell me what happened to your video, because I remember I watched it on your Instagram page and was just shocked by it. In fact, I probably told like 20 different people they have to go watch this video. Then some of them had a hard time finding it. What happened?
Yeah, so I did what I always do, and I put it on social media platforms, and thank God we probably average 4 or 5 million views per video across all platforms and among all my distributors. So we do really well. Now, this is an older video that I reposted because it was so significant and timely because of the Hamas attacks. And, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the normal places. And very soon after, Facebook almost immediately, they had it up there for maybe a few hours, and they pulled it. Instagram maybe a few hours after that. Now, they're both owned by the same company. And they had pulled the videos without even giving me a reason why. I mean, I'm talking about, we're showing open anti-Semitism for people supporting killing Jews, and they decided to pull those videos. That is deeply troubling. And this is not the first look. This has been a problem that we've all faced. All of us in our community have faced. at some point in time, some more often than others. And I remember actually, again, and maybe this is a trend, I did a video which ended up actually ending up with your father signing an executive order because of this video. And it may be worth going back a second. But I went to Duke and UNC, and I filmed secretly this conference on Gaza. And it was, again, they didn't know they were being filmed. And it was just, I'm talking about from professors, from students, open anti-Semitism. And it ended with, it was even worse. It ended with, they flew in this rapper from Gaza who got up on stage. He was the keynote kind of entertainment for the evening. We're all packed into a stadium. And he starts rapping about how he's anti-Semitic. And he's like, you guys aren't being anti-Semitic enough. And the crowd goes wild. Standing ovation.
Gosh.
I'm filming this. And what ended up, the story is what ended up happening was after it came out, it made big news. The DOE then sued Duke and UNC for the money because we spent $250,000 of federal taxpayer money on this. Wow. They ended up saying, hey, they settled out of court, and they went to your father and they said, look, Mr. President, we settled out of court because we didn't have a mechanism to sue them. So what he did was he changed Title VI to include anti-Semitism. I'm sure you remember that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people working on that thing for years, but it was that video which sparked the fire that ended up getting the executive order passed. But that video was pulled down from YouTube. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we're dealing with here. I've had exposing what's happening in Sweden with Islamic immigration. That was pulled. I mean, it's gone. It's to a point where I don't know what our options are. I really don't. It's a real problem for people like us.
Yeah, well, anyone that is conservative obviously has felt the wrath of the social media giants. I mean, I remember back when Governor DeSantis did a video. He had a roundtable of sorts talking with COVID experts, with doctors about getting kids back in school. And that video was pulled down. My show, this show, The Right View, is constantly being demonetized, deplatformed, suppressed, suspended, banned, whatever they can do for conversations just like we're having right now. And look, it really feels like that these social media giants don't want people to see what is going on out there. They don't want them to see the anti-Semitism. They don't want them to see how frightening it is going to become whenever our students on these university campuses are just fully indoctrinated with this woke left radical ideology. And I really don't know sort of what the options are for us. I mean, I'm concerned. Are you concerned about the future of conservative voices?
Duh. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I mean, yes, this is a massive problem. Look, anything that goes against their narrative is going, because they can't win on the facts. They can't win the argument in an open arena of debate and mutual respect. They can't win it. They're just wrong on most of these issues. And look, in the past, I've always said, I don't believe in hyperbole. I don't think we should overstate things. Sometimes people on our side overstate things. I said, listen, it doesn't help us if we're undermining our own cause by doing that. We're not, at this point, this conversation is not overstating anything.
Not at all.
The Democratic Party has mainstreamed anti-Semitism. Okay, when somebody is racist on the Republican side, we take them down. When somebody's anti-Semitic on the Democratic side, they end up on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. That's the difference between the two sides. And it's a shame. Look, in the short term, it can help us politically. That's fine and good. In the long term, this is incredibly damaging to our country. We will not succeed if we continue to create a gulf so wide between the two sides. We will not be able to recover it. And it breaks my heart to see the Democrats as radical as they become. I wanted Joe Biden to be a good president. I did. I had hopes that maybe he would be.
I want every president to succeed because that means America succeeds, period. Whoever you are, that's what we should all be thinking, right? That's how we should all operate. But you're right, it's not like that at all. I think back to, even a year ago, thinking about how many people were hopeful that Donald Trump would just be terrible as president, that he wouldn't be successful with COVID because maybe it could give them a political leg up on the left. That is never the way we should operate. So I'm happy to hear you say that, Ami. I think that's a great way to operate, Yeah,
and I just am I used to call myself sort of a short-term pessimist and a long-term optimist, and I've begun to change that perspective. I really have. I hate to say that. I keep hoping and thinking that people will prevail over this negativity, and they'll rise above it, and we can move beyond it. I think I think in reality, there's a possibility they've gone so far left, so far radical, that they have in fact pushed themselves out of mainstream voting patterns going forward. That's what I hope. I hope that the vast majority of this country, the silent majority, that's still a thing, who don't deal. They don't look. You and me, we eat and we drink and we breathe politics. Sometimes we're not quite in touch with the regular person who just doesn't wake up thinking about politics.
Right.
They think about their kids going to school, getting there on time, and their work and their wife, right? But there comes a point when you piss those guys off, when you piss those people off, then you've got a problem demographically and electorally. And I think what the Democrats have seen or will see, certainly, hopefully, in this midterms. And by the way, if we don't win these midterms, everybody needs to be fired. I mean, if we don't kick these guys' butts.
Totally agree.
Everybody
totally agree.
The opportunity is right in front of us, and we have to be able to make that case to the people.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you like this show, if you like hearing from people like Ami, then I want to remind our audience, be sure to share our episodes, share videos like the ones that Ami posts, subscribe to always see, our latest episodes, leave reviews on the Apple Podcast page, do whatever you can to show these platforms that you like our content, that you want more of it, because this battle is far from over. It's going to be people like us, people like Senator Josh Hawley, who is out there fighting against big tech. We have to make sure that we're not silenced. We need to make sure that these social media companies hear us, they hear from us, they know that whatever they're trying to do is not working. So I just want to always remind our audience of that. Obviously, we've talked about, this past particular show that you did, this recent Hamas one. You talked about the UNC Duke. What is really one of the craziest? I want to get back to your videos. What is one of the craziest ones that you've done, or maybe the most shocking that you've done, or maybe it's those two?
I would say, at least for me, the craziest. I don't know about the audience. But when I was lying on my couch drinking scotch, thinking about ideas for videos,
we're getting a great visual of how your life goes, Ami.
Yeah, it's not a pretty picture. I'll be honest. I said, okay, so there's, at the time, if you guys remember, there were a lot of hundreds of thousands of refugees from Syria were taking these like dangerous trek from Turkey to Greece on these like rickety rafts. Yes. So I was like, okay, I want to experience that. I want to go and experience it. So I went to Turkey and just showed up and hired a local guide and just try to find the guys who were in charge of these, taking these people, these refugees across the ocean, where thousands of people were dying in the open ocean. And so I found out very quickly that the people who run it were the Turkish mafia. And, so I'm searching out, how do you find, there's no like, information pages for Turkish mafia, and you couldn't look it up on Google. And so I finally found a guy who was in charge, one of these mafia families was in charge of these rafts. And I go into his office, and I'm sitting there, and it's a normal like office, and the desk, and picture of his family, and some candy on the table, and a gun right on the table between the two of us. So he notices me, continue to look at the gun. And he looks at me and he goes, "You don't worry about the gun. The gun will not worry about you." I go, all right, fair enough. So anyways, we cut a deal where he's going to allow me to go on this raft. And then, so I basically was on this like, rubber dinghy, it's a rubber dinghy with like a Chinese outboard motor in open ocean with these refugees crossing the Greece. Yeah, no, they didn't do, a surprise. They didn't do like the whole like safety routine before you get on, where the oxygen comes from. I was shocked that they didn't do that. My kosher meal wasn't ordered. I ordered it, but it wasn't delivered properly.
Wasn't there?
Wasn't there. No.
Oh my gosh. So you were literally like actually experiencing what these refugees experience. But do you get worried? I mean, first of all, just to fly to Turkey, I'm just going to go do this. I have to think that sometimes when you're in these moments, or when you're asking people these questions, do you get worried about what could happen to you? Because if somebody takes something you say the wrong way, it could get a little dangerous for you.
Hell yeah, I worry about it. Of course I worry. But in the moment, adrenaline takes over. You worry up until the point where you're actually doing it, and then adrenaline takes over, and then you just do it. And then when you're in the moment, you don't think about the danger, and then you're done, and then drinking time again. But one time, to be fair, I don't put myself in danger all the time. Maybe once a year, maybe I'll do something kind of crazy and dangerous.
That's a lot, but okay.
Okay. But I'll give you an example of what I did something which I thought wasn't dangerous, but ended up in the worst result I've ever experienced. I was in Stockholm. Who would have thought Stockholm would be dangerous? I shot a video that, again, your father and I were tied together on, and I got beat up badly by 5 Syrian refugees because I went to a no-go zone, and they tuned me up pretty good. So who would have thought that going to Stockholm would be the place that I would get hurt?
Man. Well, look, I know that you say you have these moments of inspiration where you're drinking on your couch or whatever, but you got to keep doing it, because the things that I feel like you expose and the way you do it is so important. And I think you really get the attention of a lot of people. I can tell you got a lot of fans in my family, a lot of people that are constantly checking out what you do. What do you have coming up? Anything you can tease for us?
So yeah, I can tease one thing because it's now shot and done. So we have a 20-minute in-depth expose of Black Lives Matter, where we got inside the organization, meeting with one of the founders of the organization. It is really a shocking. So I do 2 types of videos, kind of these stunty videos and more like in-depth, 8 to 15-minute kind of exposés. And this is one of those exposés. It is dark. It is scary, and it is, it's crazy. Really.
And where can people see all your stuff?
They can see them on my YouTube page, Facebook page, Twitter page, Instagram, where they don't ban me. They can see me on Daily Wire and Fox News and on PragerU. All those great places that do such great work are all partners of mine.
Well, they all do really great work. All right, I got to ask you, I sort of ask everybody this question because I love to get everyone's responses. What do you think is the best part of America, and what do you feel right now is maybe the biggest threat to the future of our country?
I mean, the best part of America is easy, is you can write your own book. Your success is solely based on you. And what you're willing to put forth and invest in that success. There's no country in the world like this country where anyone can come to this country and be successful. And the biggest threat is the opposite, is what is the narrative against that, which is that all of your failure is not because of you, it's because of someone else. Those are 2 sides of the same coin. They are vastly different, and they paint very different pictures of this country. And one is true, one is not true. Our view is true, and their view is not true. And if it, it's so funny when they say that, well, Black people can't succeed because of institutional racism. The obvious retort to that is some of the most successful immigrants in this country are people who come from Africa. The ones who come from Africa are the most successful because they view this country as you and I view it, as a place of freedom and a place of success where the canvas is empty and you paint your own painting. And they are extraordinary. Their success rates are as high as Asian people and Jewish people because they don't view it as people in this country do. And that's just an obvious example of why one side is wrong and one side is right. And if we take away that part of the structure of this country, we're doomed for failure.
Yeah, well, I couldn't have said it better. Totally agree with you. That's why we're doing what we do. I mean, that's why I do this show. That's why you continue to shoot these videos. We want to expose it. We want people to see this for themselves. And remember that this is such an incredible country, opportunities unlike anywhere else in the world. And you really do. You get to paint your own picture. You get to lay out your own path. And very few other countries can ever say they could come close to that like we do here in America. So Ami Horowitz, I got to say thank you for joining us. You can find Ami, like you said, on all of his social media channels. Follow Ami on the streets. It's great stuff. Thank you. And look, we'll look forward to your next big video. And until then, thanks for joining us here on The Right View. And to everybody at home, thank you as always. We'll see you next time for more of The Right View.